live on our Health and Hope community with our all right, awesome. So we're live in our Facebook Live through our Health and Hope community, and we are recording the Zoom. We had several people let us know that they'd like to be here tonight, but they couldn't be here live. So we thought we'd cover it with a recording that we can share afterwards. And so we're excited to have you here. We are still kind of gathering people. So as we do that, I would just like to invite everybody who's here to please just pop into the chat and let us know where you're joining us from tonight. We'd love to hear. We've got people from all over the place, so please feel free to let us know that. And please also go ahead and let us know, are you here with us tonight as a client or are you a guest? And if you are a client, feel free to share maybe something that might have been a success for you that you're excited about, maybe some weight you've lost or some inches or some sizes or some health you've gained. We'd love to hear that from you as we're gathering. Great to see all the friendly faces on the screen. That's one of the nice things about this Zoom technology. So good to see all of you. And we'll go ahead and get things kicked off shortly. So again, if you're just joining us, we're kicking off. We're inviting you to let us hear where you're from. If you want to just pop into the chat and say where you're from. Again, if you're a client or a coach, and if you are a client with us, please feel free to go ahead and let us know if there's any success you'd like to share with us tonight. And we'll probably continue to be joined by others here, but I think in the interest of everybody's time, I'd like to go ahead and get us started. So for anyone I haven't met personally, my name is Rebecca Butler Mona, and I have the honor of being the host this evening for this webinar. And I'm really delighted to have, we've got 5 people joining us tonight who will be sharing their stories, and huge shout out and thanks to them for doing that. But what we also are doing is kind of doing a little bit of a refresher. Here we are, it's almost the end of the quarter. It was kind of a nice time to go back and revisit what did we hope to set out to do here in 2022. So it's kind of a nice chance to do a little bit of a kind of new year, new you sort of a focus here. So I'm gonna pop out and see if I can share some slides here in a moment and give you an opportunity to see what's on my screen, assuming this works. So let me just say we are doing a lot of different technology things here between Zoom, Facebook Live, and SlideShare. I'm just hoping it works. So everybody with me with some slides on the screen now? All right. So here we are, the wonders of modern technology. It's wonderful when it works. So just by way of a little bit of background on my own story, bringing me here tonight, like perhaps some of you, I have battled a little bit of up and down yo-yo dieting, I would say, for the majority of my life. I can remember being on my first diet probably in about 5th grade, and I lost the same maybe 25, 30 pounds multiple times in my life, in high school, just after college, right before I got married, after having each of my kids. And, then I finally just kind of said, I accept myself as a slightly higher size. I always had kind of a range of about 3 sizes in my closet. Maybe some of you can relate to that, from the skinny clothes to the heavier clothes. And they just went up a size after my second child. And I just kind of thought, I'm going to have to deal with that. Well, had a very stressful job, did a lot of travel, had a lot of very long hours, and it was just hard to put priority on my own health. But, as I approached my 50s and I realized, my dad actually had a heart attack at 54, and we lost him just very suddenly. And I thought, I need to do something. I can't just be cavalier about my health. And I had taken a role where I did a lot of travel, and I was told probably gain about 20 pounds doing that, and they were right. So I got to the fall of 2019, and I weighed almost what I did when I was pregnant with my son, and I'm like, I'm at the end of my rope. I've had it. And then I met a guy who told me he had lost 100 pounds in the past year, and I said, I want to know how you did that. And he shared with me about this program, and I thought, this sounds different. It doesn't sound like a diet. It sounds like something I could actually sustain for my life and make some fundamental changes. And that's what I've found. I actually went on to lose over 50 pounds. That was 2 years ago, and I feel great. And I fully intend to be around for many more years to come with my college age kids and hopefully grandkids someday. So a little bit of a quick story there. This is really about hopefully helping inspire others to transform your habits and to lead to a healthier life. So, with that as some background, what we're planning to do tonight is to really take a look at what is our current reality, a chance for you to kind of take an assessment of that, to clarify what we set out to do for 2022. Now that we're kind of at that 1/4 checkpoint, we'll take a look at the common barriers that many people face as we try to achieve certain goals, look at some habits that we could address that would assist us in that effort, and then talk a little bit about some of the support resources that we have available. And importantly, as a big part of this, we'll hear from 5 different people sharing their stories with you. So if you take just a moment now and do a little self-reflection, I'd love to hear, if you're comfortable, maybe just plug something into the chat for when you look at this for yourself and we think about well-being in terms of physical, mental, and financial health, from, I am the absolute best I could possibly be at the high end to, the opposite of that. Where would you assess yourself in each of these areas? And importantly, then when you look at a cumulative score, where do you see your overall well-being, which is kind of a composition of those 3 things? And if you're comfortable, share that in the chat, and you'll see maybe you have some folks who are exactly where you are. When we look at top resolutions typically seen at the beginning of the year, this happens to be an example from 2020, but it is pretty consistent. The most popular resolutions with basically half the people tend to be around our finances and making that better. A lot of things related to our physical health, eating healthier, being more active, losing weight. And then you also see the mental well-being there, pretty high for folks, very closely tied to social connections. And things like, building new skills and so on are important as well. But I'm curious, for you, feel free, if you're comfortable, drop something in the chat on what is it you wanted to improve when you look at 2022, and maybe you were glancing at this at the beginning of January. What did you set out to do, or what's important to you now in terms of maybe one of these areas or something else, if it's something else for you? And a lot of people have found it's helpful to make what you might hear call a vision board. This is more of a visual representation of what those big goals for you are, often done for a year, sometimes for a longer period of time. And I actually did this myself for the first time a year ago in January. And, for me, it was in areas that related to, family and friends and travel and my health and a few other things like that. Instead of doing kind of the magazine picture cut and paste on a board that a lot of folks like to do, I actually did a digital version with a little help from my college daughter using a tool called Canva that was really cool. But that I found to be very helpful, and then I just took another look at it this year to refine, actually made progress in several of those areas. And it really can help when you've got a visual guide that you can look at to remind you of it. So I'm curious, now we're at the end of March, how's it going for you? And, hopefully you're making great progress. And if you're like some of us, sadly, research shows that for those people who do make resolutions in January, most people have fallen off of them by February. So let's not be that statistic. If there's some goals that are important to you, let's figure out how to get to them. So a couple things that might help. This is actually called a structural tension chart. So what it really takes into consideration is starting with that current reality. So if you put that down at the bottom of the chart here, and you could actually write out a couple of lines, so my current reality is, I weigh X, I am X size, or I have this situation with my finances, or whatever it is that you're wanting to hone in on. This is just a fact-based reality of where you are. And then at the top of the chart, it's really about what your goals or your vision or your desired outcome looks like. So you put that there. And then what are the steps we need to take to get there, to create some action steps and milestones, to move from that current reality to those desired outcomes or your vision, with some perhaps quarterly milestones, for example. And if you're dealing with goals that relate to health, which was one of the most common things we saw in those examples at the front of this, there are some healthy habits that may assist you there that I just want to share a little bit about. And we have 6 that we talk about here with the habits of health. So one of those is a healthy mind, healthy mindfulness or mindset. And that can be such a huge difference maker because, if you've heard the expression, if you believe that you can or you believe that you can't, you're right. So it's a lot of our success in what we're trying to achieve is a function of the approach we take with our mindset. And there are a lot of ways we can fuel that in terms of a positive ability to influence those outcomes. Another one is healthy nutrition and hydration. So, we talk, for example, about the need to have 6 small meals a day, balanced protein, carb, nutrient balanced, every 2 to 3 hours, and to have plenty of hydration. So minimum would be 64 ounces, that 8 ounce glasses you've probably heard about for most of your life. An even better guideline is whatever your body weight is in pounds, half that in ounces is a good amount of hydration. Healthy motion. So this doesn't necessarily mean strenuous cardio exercise. In fact, at least on this program, um, exercise is not a requirement for success. And in fact, unless you're exercising now, we don't recommend that you start at the very beginning because your body's going to be going through some changes. But motion can mean there's something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that just means things that are not necessarily intentional exercise, but are movement. So for example, if you sit a lot, standing periodically, when you park your car, park a little farther away so you take a few more steps, take the stairs instead of the elevator, things like that that allow you to just get more motion. And then eventually add in more intentional exercise, walking, cardio, strength training, things like that. Healthy sleep and energy management, also very important. I mean, generally, most of us as adults need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And many of us don't get that. And if we do get sleep, it's not quality sleep. It has a huge impact on our overall health, not only our energy throughout the day, but even the ability to make good decisions is really influenced by how much sleep that we receive. And I don't know about you, I mean, in the 24/7 nature of the type of job that I had for 30 plus years, people almost prided themselves on, oh yeah, I don't get that much sleep, 4 or 5 hours, that's all I need. And, it's like a pride thing. And reality is it's really not healthy for us. So try to make that a priority. Healthy surroundings, this is actually about not just your environment and having, a positive set of not tempting foods around you or whatever it might be. But a lot of this is about the people we spend time with. There's a saying that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you think about that. Are the 5 people you spend the most time with people who are helping move you closer to your goals, or are they taking you the other way? Sometimes people call that your 5 friends or your 5 accomplices. So that's something worth considering. And then finally, healthy weight management habits. So, that's how all these things kind of come together to your ability to have good overall health from that perspective. So just a tool, if that's helpful to you as you think about how to get to the goals that you have for this year and beyond. Now, what are some of the common barriers that we face? This could be as we are aiming to achieve really most any of our goals. I'll talk about it here as it primarily relates to health, but I think it can apply to many things. So one common one is knowledge. I just don't have the information or the expertise that I need to be able to move in the direction of my goals. And so that's a barrier for me. Or fear, especially if I feel like, what, I have tried this a dozen times, it's never worked for me. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do it. Maybe I don't have the support that I need. I don't have a supportive spouse, or I don't have that surrounding community of friends, of like-minded people who are trying to help in accomplishing the goals that I've set out to do. Stress. I mean, stress is huge, especially in the last couple of years for a lot of people. And so we'll talk about, stress eating, for example, but stress in general has a huge impact on us, both mentally and physically. The motivation, maybe it's just hard to get that internal intrinsic motivation to take the steps that I need to take for whatever my goal is. A lack of energy, when we are under a lot of stress, and maybe we're not getting enough sleep, we just don't have the energy. And sometimes taking a proactive action towards something feels like it needs energy. Finances, people are stretched financially, and many of the goals that we might have may seem to need some additional finances or an investment in ourselves that sometimes we're not sure we're prepared to make. Time, we all have the same number of hours in a day and days in the week. It's really a matter of how we use it. But there are times that it may feel like I just can't see how I can fit in one more thing. But maybe there are ways for us to prioritize things differently. And finally, failure to plan. And I'm sure, all heard the expression that when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And so this is one of those things that, there are things we can do to address it, but these are the types of things many of us list as a barrier. Be curious, for you, for the goals that you set out when you were thinking back to your 2022 objectives a few minutes ago, are any of these barriers the ones that jump out for you? Feel free to share that in the chat if you would. We'd love to have you guys share with each other. So as I mentioned, the program that we're here to share with you about tonight really focuses on lifelong transformation. It's not about a diet. It's not about a temporary solution. It's about making changes one healthy habit at a time so that they are permanent life changes that enable us to create the healthy life that we want, and not just to have, a temporary, I reach this point and I'm done. It's what comes next. Now, I will say, most of us do have weight loss as a need, since about 75% of Americans are overweight or obese. So that is just one phase in the journey, but it is a phase most of us need to go through. Not everyone, but most of us. But after that, it's about how do I optimize, and how do I actually create optimal health and well-being, and ideally longevity. And I've got to say, with each new birthday that I have, the more that matters to me, because I'd like to be around for a few more decades, and maybe you're right there with me. So there are 4 components to the success system that we'll talk about here tonight. And I just want to share with you about this a little bit briefly, and then we'll turn to hear from our stories of the evening. These 4 things all work together. So the first one is to have your own personal Optivia health coach. And Optivia, by the way, means optimal life, if you're wondering what that stands for. And that coach's role is one of supporting, encouraging, and providing really a connection to resources. They're not there to be your inspector. They're really there to be your guide. And that's something that I found so helpful and so on, that I decided that I would become a coach to hold myself accountable, but also to help other people. And I found that incredibly fulfilling. The habits of health are actually based on some research and a book that was written by Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. And you can see him on the cover of that book. We call him Dr. A. Dr. A was a critical care physician at a clinic in Ohio. He was one of the first 10 board certified in the country in critical care. And about 20 years ago, he decided, he was seeing so many people come into his care who frankly had issues that were things he was having to fix at the back end that really were caused by being overweight or obese. He said, I'd really like to figure out a way to fix that at the front end. So he wrote this book, Habits of Health for Lifelong Transformation, and he developed this program that we're talking about here tonight. And it's made a huge difference now. He's worked with over 2 million people now. So that is really the backbone of what we do. The Habits of Health, we call it Transformation System. It's that book, and then a companion book that goes with it called your Life Book, which is kind of like your personal journal that goes through those different habits of health, kind of one element at a time, that gives you a chance to kind of pause and reflect on, like we talked about up front, what's my current reality and what do I want to be and how do I get there? And then there's also a free app that you can put on your phone, simple tracking of your meals and hydration and things like that, but also has a lot of healthy recipes. So that's a big part. The fuelings, as we call them. So I mentioned fueling, think of it as fuel for your body. This nutrition system is based on what I touched on earlier about 6 small meals a day every 2 to 3 hours and plenty of hydration. There actually are scientifically engineered meal replacements that are provided by the company. Most people are on what we call the 5-in-1 plan, but not everyone is. There are multiple different variations. But with that in mind, 5 of the meals in a given day would be one of these, and a 6th one would be what we call a lean and green meal that you make yourself, lean protein and green vegetables or salad. But these fuelings are, they are protein and carb balanced. They're only about 100 calories a piece. They've got 24 vitamins and minerals added to them, so you don't need any supplements. And they are clean label, meaning no artificial anything in them. So that is part of the science of the program. And then the 4th part is the supportive community that we offer, which includes a virtual community with our Facebook group of a whole bunch of people who are on the same journey with you, webinars that you can learn from, like what we're doing here tonight. There's even a nutrition support team of nutrition dietitians and nurses at a toll-free number that are available to our clients. So that's a little bit about each of these. What I'd like to do now, I'm going to take us off the screen share, and I'd like to invite each of our guests to share a little bit. And I'm going to start with Pam Barkold. So Pam, if you could make sure you're off mute. Pam is joining us tonight from Michigan, and she is a mental health professional doing a great job here on the program. And I've asked her to touch in her story a little bit on the importance of the coaching element. But Pam, let me share this over with you, and thanks so much for being with us tonight.
And thank you, Becky, for inviting me tonight. I'm so excited to be able to tell my story, and I'm not one who generally has told my story. So that's a big change for me. But I will tell you that I am a person who has yo-yoed most of my adult life. Not until childbirth, but boy, after childbirth, it was up and down and up and down. And every diet you can think of, I have tried. However, I did think of myself as fairly healthy. I gained a little bit of weight during COVID. I still thought I was healthy, except obesity. And I didn't think of that as a health barrier. I really did not. In fact, denial works wonderfully. I'd like to think it wasn't getting in my way. I was still very active. So I have enjoyed the regularity of this program. I have found that I had an injury in January of 2021, a knee injury. I have not had hardly any surgery in my life, but this was going to require surgery. I did have surgery in June of 2021. Post-surgery, I have not done well. The knee has not recovered well. I have some cardiac issues I'm still recovering from because of general anesthesia. And I was planning a big hike with my grandkids this summer, and I was not sure how I was going to be able to do that. So I knew that I had to do something about the obesity because I was eating clean and green. I was doing a lot of the things that are in the habits of health, but I was still very obese and denying that obesity was in my way. So I got on this program, and it's just been amazing that I was able to immediately start on the 5-in-1 and stay. And I have to attribute that to the support that I got from my coach. I don't know if I could have done that. The fuelings were a strange thing for me to think about, something I was willing to do. But I had a coach there with me every step of the way, every day as I got started. First week wasn't too bad. Second week started to hit some doldrums. but I was getting lots of encouragement from my coach. And anytime I needed a resource, she knew where that resource was. So the coaching has been really, really critical for me. I am now down 35 pounds in less than 3 months. So I'm just getting ready to enter my third month. And I have a ways to go. I have quite a ways to go, but I'm on my way toward living without this yo-yoing, living without this obesity that continually was getting in my way. And I'm still planning to do some hiking this summer, a little bit of change in how we'll do that, but nevertheless, I'm still planning to climb with those grandkids.
Wow, Pam, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And I'm so proud of you. And it's so wonderful to hear you not only share your success, but what you're looking forward to and the big hikes with the grandkids. So you're going to do it. I know you are. So keep up the great work. And thank you again for sharing. It's been a joy to work with you. So thank you. Next, I will be turning to Terry Davis. Terry is joining us from Rochester, New York, and she is a retired corporate leader from a major company, and she has been rocking her habits of health as well. So let me turn this over to you, and thank you again, Terry, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Full disclosure. So yes, working in the corporate world, I've been in front of and trained thousands of people, but this is not my comfort zone, talking about myself. So I'm glad I'm doing it. And I thought about what I wanted to talk about. And I think that, you know, as we talk about the other phases of community and stuff, I hope then that it'll make me more willing to be part of the community and reach out to people. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So anyway, so I want to start by saying, have you ever experienced this? You wake up in the morning of your annual physical. Well, let me tell you about that in a second. So I keep telling myself I've not lost my baby fat. Seriously, I look in the mirror and I look at myself and go, you know, I'm a little chubby, but I sure look young. So it must be that baby fat that I haven't lost in all these years. And I've struggled with weight loss all my life. I mean, back in the days, I mean, early on, my mother, I think I even took diet pills in my lifetime and stuff, and have been on every diet, no matter what letter of the alphabet it starts with. So, you know, struggling with my weight, and to your point, Pam, I can totally relate with what you said, and obesity turned into health issues over the years. So high blood pressure, sleep apnea, acid reflux, bouts of hydration, sleepless nights, just the gamut of everything. So even though my blood pressure is managed with medicine, last year it went up and it has stayed up, making my doctor actually double my medication, add an additional pill. And I think it was a wake-up call for me. So I had been watching Rebecca, listening to her. I'd seen Pam posting, Denise posting about the program and stuff. So I decided back in January that I would just go into the internet, start Googling, what is this program about? Found a lot of resources, a lot of information, actually on my own. And I think that's when, and I hadn't reached out to Rebecca, but just so you know, she does know what we're doing, because I just thought I was nonchalantly ordering the 2 books she mentioned. And here she is. She's like, I saw you ordered that. How's it going? I'm like, well, I just ordered it so that I could get some more. I'm very pragmatic. I want to see the information. So I've been on everything, you know, and I have to tell you, so for a month, so the end of January, I got the books. Actually was a little overwhelmed with them, so I hadn't really looked at them when I first got them, but I came across a 28-day challenge, which was the month of February. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. So again, I'm not fully on the program, but the healthy habits are the things that I started to learn and to do on my own. Rebecca was checking in with me and I said, okay, everything's going well. Because of my blood pressure stuff and other medications, I really needed to talk to my doctor to see if I could do this program and get the okay. So learned about them. To this, right out of the chute, something clicked. It just clicked. And I'm not questioning the click because I don't want to question it. I drink 64 ounces of water. Never happened in my entire life, no matter what program I was on. You know, they'd say you got to drink 8 glasses of water. Okay, well, I had 3 down, 64 ounces of water. Doing the 6 small meals. Obviously, I wasn't on any fuelings, but I tried to manage my 6 meals. Actually went in and looked at some of the lean and green recipes. So I started making those. Have a bunch I love. So that led me to, on my own, knowing I had my physical last week in February, I just said, you know what, this can't hurt. So I ordered some product, right? So February 27th, day before, Rebecca goes, day 1 tomorrow, right? I said, yep, had all my boxes, had them in my, fit them in my cabinet, and started the plan, which, you know, starting looking at the fuelings, and the word fueling is just, I think it's great. You know, other plans, snack says, oh, yay, that could be a cookie or stuff. Fueling says it's really helping my body. So I thought that was really unique. So, you know, I opened up my mind and my heart to learning things. You know, did my month, just finished up my first month and got my, it's funny that you like wait by the door, because, you know, I was low and my favorite things, and I'm like, oh my God, when are they coming? When are they coming? So they came today, yay. So I stocked back up. Exercise, motion. Here's the thing, you know, when we talk about habits, how does it work sometimes and not always, right? 5 years ago, I started working with a trainer 3 days a week for 45 minutes. And I've done that religiously for 5 years. So I knew there was something in me that could get me to do other things on a regular basis. And I'm really working on the sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. Although I think I sent Rebecca a message at midnight last night and caught myself and went, oh, that probably wasn't a really good thing. I'll pretend like I got up at 9. But anyway, so back to last week when I had my physical, I woke up excited to see my doctor, and I love my doctor, but I was excited to go see my doctor to find out what was going on with my body, because I knew I'd lost weight, 14.3 pounds. I had baggy clothes. You know, my sister looked at me and she said, did you know that those pants you have on are a little baggy in the butt? I'm like, well, so be it. My BMI reduced 3 points. I lost overall 3 inches. My blood pressure was down from 160/86 to 122/80. Now I'm watching my doctor tell me this, and she's smiling. Triglycerides down 20 points, overall cholesterol down 16 points, glucose down. She was so happy, and she's the most lovely lady. She actually put a smiley face in my records. And best of all, she approved me to continue with this program. So that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. Terry, that's so inspiring. Thank you very much for sharing. And, you know, I think her story is a great testimony to the importance of just those habits and the discipline of them, because Terry embraced the habits first and then just added to them. And that was fantastic. But it was so awesome to talk to Terry after she had that doctor's appointment, and, you know, just all that great progress in a really pretty short period of time. So remarkable. And thank you for sharing. And I look forward to what happens in the next checkup, right? So that'll be awesome. So thanks. The next person I'd like to go to is Carol Hodges. So Carol's joining us from Galveston, Texas. where she's already let me know it's in the 80s, which we here in Des Moines don't want to hear, but I'm glad for you. Carol is a retired Army lieutenant colonel and is a nurse by her expertise and profession. And she too has been rocking this. And I asked her if she'd also just touch on the science of that nutrition with her medical background, in addition to just her own experience. So thanks so much, Carol, for joining us. And let me turn it over to you.
Well, okay, so with 80 degrees, there also comes a high humidity, which means I have lots of curls. Yeah. Um, so I'm probably one of the rare ones because I come in, I was skinny. Freshman year of college, I did the classic 10 pounds, but I still was not by any means overweight. I went right into an Army scholarship program and right on to active duty. So every 6 months, I'm happy to hit a weight standard and I'm happy to hit fitness standards. And so for 20 plus years, this was regimented into me. And probably for the first 10 years after I retired, that kind of stayed in place. And I'd been a diabetic educator, so small frequent feedings, hydrating, thinking about what you're eating, all that was portion control. I mean, I was teaching it, so I was sort of, I laugh about helping with the diabetic summer camp, and the counselors would sneak at night into after the kids were all asleep, we'd go have Reese's peanut butter cups. Like, okay, and then you brush your teeth so the kids couldn't smell it. Um, and and then probably after about 10 years out, I started to slip a little bit. And I hooked up in with Curves, and Curves, I got an exercise plan, a community support, again, pushing hydration, small frequent feedings, and it went great. Curves closed. My mom had a stroke. Stress kind of kicked in there, and within the last probably 8 years, I've just watched the weight go up, and motivation to exercise, and all that just went. It went until January, when hooked up with Rebecca, and I said, okay, I need to do this, and it's typical. I jumped in. I'm reading the books. I'm doing all the fuelings. I'm holding off on the exercise, which we're supposed to hold on the exercise, but I bought into the science because when you look at, I mean, this again was stuff I have taught for a number of years, and so when you look at the way the fuelings are set up and the way your body works and getting a steady rate on your glycemic uh, status and not getting yourself dehydrated, and so during the I've done the whole march, like, okay, everybody stop and take a drink, kind of, so it makes sense from a science view and from what I lived in my life. um, I love the fact that the fuelings are interchangeable. um, I'm really good at, I set them up for like 3 days out. So I've got a little cart and they're all on there, and I have a little thing and I lay out like 3 days worth of fueling so I can grab them and go. I realized I'm definitely a breakfast person. So getting the cereals and the pancakes to start my day, yeah, okay. I'm a traditionalist on that. And then they go. And the biggest thing has been, again, realizing because I'm retired, so my schedule is not the same every day, is that I've got to realize, okay, if I'm leaving to go out the door, to do meetings, to do volunteer work, to do whatever, I've got to make sure I throw some of those fuelings in my purse or my backpack or whatever, because I'm probably not going to be back home in 3 hours to grab one. And I don't want to be tempted to walk into a 7-Eleven and grab a Snickers bar off the counter, which would be very easy to do. So I tried, I mean, I'm now got my third box here, so I've kind of went through like, oh, I haven't tried this one yet. I wanted to try all the different things, but I'm realizing realistically for me, I'm going to do better with the bars just because they're convenient to throw in my purse. The poppers or crunchies are going to be easy to throw in a purse and go. They don't have to be fixed. Um, And then the shakes are quick. I can do those anywhere, so they work well with things. A little bit trickier with the healthy entrees because that actually involves sitting in front of a stove or microwave and, you know, so many minutes this, so many minutes that. So I got to plan those around. Usually more in an evening when I've done with the meeting and have the availability to do that. It's also made me go back into my mother's way of hooking up and planning my meals, the lean and greens and programming them in, and walking into the grocery store and doing that outer circuit, the healthier stuff, and avoiding the center aisles, and coming home and setting stuff up in portion control so that I can basically reach up in the freezer and grab my meat and grab my veggies, and it's ready to go. And so there's that need to go back into my structure, my regiment, and whatever that just worked well for me. And the feelings, like I said, try them all, and then you kind of figure out what's going to work best with your life. And I at 5 minutes, so I'm going to stop.
Well, no, great advice, Carol. On the simplicity and, things that they're intended to be grab and go. They're either ready to go, like she said, or they require very minimal preparation. So they're easy to fit into a busy lifestyle. I don't think you mentioned, but I believe you're also down 20 pounds or so,
Down
right? In the
just
size.
over
And
20 pounds, and yeah, and
yeah, so
inside
well done.
so it's kind of cool. And people, I mean, I'm thinking, okay, as the concept we're all talking about, like, I didn't think I was that fat. But yes, people are saying, you've lost weight. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess I have.
Uh,
I mean, it's kind of like somewhat in denial that I was in, that people are suddenly like realizing it. So yeah, and I laughed. I mean, I laughed about being out and walked this morning in the rain. Actually, it was kind of fun walking in the rain, but again, getting back into doing things I did, that to me is important.
That's great. And feeling well enough to do those things that you
Oh,
enjoy.
definitely,
So well done.
definitely.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing, Carol. I really appreciate it. Let's go next to Denise. So I have Denise Nasev on here. Denise is a busy professional who's a mom of two college-age boys who are frequently at home as well. And I happen to know both of those boys also, so very dynamic. She is a manager of continuous improvement for a university. So it's only suitable that she is working on continuous improvement of herself as well. I know she holds a certification with a really cool title. I believe it's a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. And she also does karate. So I think this is a gal who's a black belt in many aspects of her life. So with that, I've asked Denise to come share her story and touch on the value of our community. So Denise, over to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So, yes, the community is important, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey to get here. So I have always struggled with my weight from the time I was little. I was bullied through school, high school. I left where I grew up as quick as I could, hoping to get away from that bullying. So I've always had weight issues, but it was at my worst, I think, during my late 20s and early 30s after I got married. You get married and you think, okay, I'm going to go and have kids. And, everybody else, it ticks along normal. And yeah, not so much sometimes. So I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which causes problems getting pregnant. And it was interesting because my doctor said to me once, you carry extra weight because of the hormone imbalance. If you lost weight, your hormones would get better in control, but it's a vicious circle. And so 5 years of fertility treatments, 3 miscarriages, 2 full-time babies, and my weight just packed on. And so through both of my pregnancies, I had gestational diabetes and I was insulin dependent. Went away with both births, but my doctor was constantly warning me, this could come back. This could come back. If you don't get your health under control, this could come back. So I tried everything, just like everyone else has said. Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, keto, you name it, I tried it. Pills, you name it, I tried it. And I'm a really active person. I was the power skating coach for my kids' hockey teams. I'm a red belt in karate, so I train 2 or 3 times a week. Plus, I am a Special Olympics coach. So I swim, I play soccer, I'm super active. But my numbers in my health were out of control. Nothing worked. And then 11 years ago, as my doctor predicted, my diabetes came back. So we started on medications. And then 4 years ago, I had to be put on insulin. And that to me was the most devastating thing that could ever happen. That going on to insulin meant that I had no control, and it was a very high dose. I was on a very high dose of insulin to try and manage this diabetes. Diabetes runs in my family. The polycystic ovarian syndrome made it worse. So it was just, I felt like, hey, this is my destiny, right? I've got everything working against me, so I might as well just give up, right? But then I have these two boys, and one of them has autism. And it means that for the rest of his life, and don't get me wrong, he's in culinary school and he's doing amazing things. But for the rest of his life, he is going to need support. So that's always in the back of my mind, thinking I need to be healthy because this young boy, no matter how much independence we can create for him, there's always going to be that support that's going to be there. And as a parent of a child with a special need, you're always thinking what happens when I'm gone. So I realized that I needed to get healthy for those two boys. And I watched Rebecca. I met Rebecca through the Optimist organization. Our children actually met each other first, I believe, through the Junior Optimist organization. And then when I met her and got to know her, and I watched her posting this amazing transformation. And I thought, this is someone I really respect. So I reached out to ask. I thought, oh my God, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there is some secret. And I was skeptical. I have to admit, I was skeptical because, like I said, I've tried it all. There's nothing that I haven't tried. But I think that this is different. I know this is different. The coaching. I mean, the three ladies in front of me have already talked about the coaching, the fueling. But for me, it was the community. So being able to reach out into that community when you're having a rough day, yes, both my boys are away at college, but the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to leave my ASPE, my autistic child, at college. And so there are days where he's at home and he's having a meltdown, and it's a bad day. But that community, whether it's through the coaching or just the community Facebook, if I can post in there and say I'm struggling right now, and that community comes through and says, hey, you can do this, or have you tried this? Or, you know what, we're here to help you in any way we can, even though none of them live anywhere near me. It's that community. That's the difference. That is the difference for me, is being accountable. So to let you know what I've done, I have lost weight, yes, but more important to me is those non-scale victories. I have reduced my insulin intake by 8 units. My last check-in with my doctor, he was so excited, he took me off my blood pressure medication. My cholesterol medication is next, it's going, and hopefully one of my other diabetes medications. So I have amazing energy, and now I can actually picture, we're talking about opening a cafe and a bakery for my younger son, and I can picture myself being there now. So it wasn't predestined that I would have this horrible health. I just had to find what worked, and this worked for me. And my community has extended to many of my friends, are looking at me saying, okay, if you can do it, maybe we can do it. And how do we do it? And so I always say, look, if I can do it, someone who was overweight all my life, then anybody can do it. That's my story and how I got to being healthier. But I still have more to go in my journey, but I'm much healthier than I was when I started in December.
Denise, so fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And, I love the point you made about the non-scale victories. I mean, the scale is one thing, but it's only one thing. When you talk about freeing yourself from all of those medications and the insulin and all that, it's just fantastic. So, and exciting for you to be thinking about making plans for the chef. That'll be awesome. So thank you very much for sharing. Appreciate it. Our final story of this evening is from the gentleman in our cast. I'd like to welcome Kevin Rosa to the microphone. Kevin and I are both parents of kids that went to the same school. We actually know each of our kids, but my son and his daughter were classmates. So they've been together all through school. And, so we've been friends for a long time. But Kevin is a very busy professional. He's in pharmaceutical sales. He is a manager for the entire western half of the United States. So busy guy, does a lot of travel, and he's been just absolutely rocking. So Kevin, thanks so much for sharing tonight, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Ladies, you did a great job sharing your story. And as I listened, I was just amazed how I can connect with parts of each of your story. And that's what's so fun about gathering together and sharing them, right? And so thanks for sharing them. And you did such a good job covering off on the 4 components. So I probably won't belabor that for the sake of time, but my story is similar to a lot of people's, where I was an active athlete and arts kid in high school, went off to college, and a farm kid, so incredibly active, and went off to college, became more sedentary, put on the freshman 15, plus some, I'm sure, I don't remember, try to forget. And then post-college went into this, period of adulthood of just yo-yo dieting and pursuing weight loss constantly, and it's exhausting, right? At one point, the clinicians that I went to, were saying, this is probably 15 years ago, you're pre-diabetic, you need to be careful about this. Well, that was, 30 pounds ago and in 15 years. And I'm fortunate enough, some of your stories include medication. I've been fortunate enough to remain active and not to have to be on medications, but I'm nearing a milestone birthday that ends in a 0, and it's not 40 and it's not 60. So you can figure it out. And this is the time where I put my stake in the ground. Similar to what some of you have already mentioned, I decided my wife and kids are too important to me. And this whole idea of pursuing health long-term, I went into every diet I ever tried believing I could do it forever. And it just didn't turn out that way. As we know, diets don't. And so, as Rebecca said, I met her through school, and being in science my whole life, evidence-based medicine matters to me. I'm resistant to diets because I know they're not nutritional for us, and I know they're not the best way to do it. And so it took me a long time, probably 18 months of watching Rebecca's journey. I also approached her and I said, I want you to share your story with me because you've been very successful. Rebecca had been successful in her work life. I had watched that, and then in this health journey. And so she shared more about the program that we are all on this journey together about. And it's just been an amazing thing for me to learn the different components that you all covered already, but they're also important to me, starting with the coach, accountability, and Rebecca is my coach. The habits of health, that's what it's all about. For the first time in my life, I'm not pursuing weight loss. I'm not pursuing a number. It will happen. I know it will happen. It's happening. Today, I hit day 30, the first month under my belt. And ironically, 6 months ago, scheduled my physical, which was today. And so similar to you, I don't remember if it was Pam who shared that story, but I was able to go to my physician this morning and do my blood work. And for the first time in my life that I can remember, my cholesterol is in a healthy, normal range. And that's just after 1 month of pursuing health in a different way. And so the part of coaching too, that I just want to kind of finish my comments with, I guess before I jump to that, I am blown away by the results of achieving health, whether it's weight loss or habits. Probably the single biggest change in my life, which seems so simple, is I told myself before I have 1 sip of coffee in the morning, and I love coffee, I will drink 32 ounces of water. And you know what? I wake up dehydrated every day. I've learned that in a month about myself. I drink that so quickly and my body needs it. And my coffee consumption has changed as a result of it. I think I drank 6 cups of coffee because I was dehydrated, not because I loved it that much. So just another little hint that I've learned over the last month. Somebody else kind of addressed it, but there's a ripple effect. People start to see weight loss on you. People start to see your excitement. People start to see and hear your story. And it's really, really fun. In fact, one of my friends, Scott, is on this call, who we've known each other for 15 or 20 years in our industry. And that's the value of sharing your story, and this community provides that. So the coaching does a couple things. I think the statistics would show that if you can help other people, you're going to be more successful with yourself. And so that's why I have signed up to be a coach, only because I have a new busy job. I got this promotion 4 months ago. I am all over the place and my life is chaos. And the fuelings take some of the chaos away. It's predictable. I sit on airplanes. I always have something with me. I eat at the right times and I'm getting nutritional food when I do it. And so it's been a wonderful experience. But I'm doing the coaching because my why includes my family and helping other people. That's why I am on this earth. And so it helps. The financial piece of this whole program is twofold to me. There's the products that you purchase, your fuelings, and then there's, you know, the business side if you choose to do that. And what's great is I've noticed in a very short period of time that my budget for food in my family and my eating out budget, it fits in there and saves me money. And so that has been a really, really cool experience just in 1 month's period of time for me. So I'm thrilled to meet all of you that I haven't met. It's good to see some of you again, and I'll turn it back over to you, Rebecca.
Oh, thanks very much, Kevin. And you're doing a fantastic job. And I appreciate the tips you've been sharing, even with me, you know, I mean, to see what you've been doing, even during travels and busy social times, and just the great attitude that you bring to everybody and the ripple effect that you're already having on others. So appreciate that very much. I am going to attempt to go back into share screen for just a minute here. And so if you'll bear with me, I'm going to flip through some things very quickly because I'd like to have us wrap up closer to 45 minutes than to an hour in the interest of everybody's time later in the evening. So let me just see if I can advance the slides, if they'll cooperate with me. And if they won't, we'll just stop the share. Well, I don't think they want to work. So let's just do it this way. All right, I'm going to come back out and go to where I can see all of you. All right, so just a reminder, you know, we talked a little bit about how this is all based on healthy habits, and you know, we kind of try to have an optimal day, you know. So if you think about having 24 hours in a day with 7 to 8 of that spent sleeping, and we also talk about how to have kind of a model morning where you set up your day for success, and a twilight hour in the evening. That's the time you kind of control things the most before everybody else, you know, makes the day crazy. And then in between, trying to get that fueling and hydration and motion in. So that's kind of the discipline we try to drive to. But and then as Kevin touched on a little bit, there are a few benefits to the coaching aspect itself. If it's something that you might be interested in, as Kevin said, and I found this myself, you know, one of the key things about coaching is that many of us like is it's accountability for your own health. You're more likely to stay focused on healthy habits for yourself when you're helping someone else. You know, it's you're mindful of being a role model for one thing. And it's kind of like if you're a teacher, you know, you tend to learn as you teach others. So there's that aspect. It's incredibly fulfilling and rewarding. And you're paid with that, if you will, the currency of goodwill. But you can also, you know, earn a pretty decent financial return if that's something you choose to do. So I just want to let people know that door is open. But what I'd like to close with tonight, and I hope you found this very inspiring. I really want to thank everybody for making time to be with us, and a huge, huge shout out to the 5 people who shared their stories. You know, each of you comes from different perspectives, different experiences, and you each shared unique insights, and I really appreciate that. For everyone who's on here, if you think about next steps, I would like to give you 3 options, and I'll call them 1 is good, 2 is better, 3 is best. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'll tell you what they are, and I'd love to have each of you plug in 1, 2, or 3 in the chat when you decide what's best for you. So good is, if you're not already one of our clients, be part of our healthy community and take advantage of some of the free support that you heard people talk about, especially Denise, as she discussed the community. That's something you can do completely free of charge. There's a lot of information in our Facebook group. There's a lot of information available on the web, you know, wealth of resources to support you if you try to do this on your own. Better would be, number two, for more predictable results, partner with us to take advantage of the complete program, including a coach and also the nutritional fueling program. I will say clinical studies have shown that those who use that full program versus trying to do things on their own have 10 times better success. So I just want to mention that to you. And I will say the timing is fantastic. We actually have a special promotion that just started that is for new clients or for former clients who haven't placed an order in over 6 months. There is $90 off their first month of fuelings and program support. And that is on top of the free resources and food that we've traditionally provided. So the savings for our new clients is well over $200. So there's never been a better time. I've been involved for the last 2.5 years. I've never seen anything this good. So if that was holding you back, I'd encourage you to ask some questions and see if the timing might be right for you. And number three, best option. You can improve your success and your impact if you encourage others to join you in your journey. And you heard several people talk about that, whether you're just being a health champion or whether you decide you want to be a coach. And I'll leave you with this visual that my coach David Bush likes to use. And that is, if you imagine that this pen is your healthy journey, okay, and your best version of health, and you're trying to get a firm grasp on your health, okay? Each of these fingers represents a part of the program. So if you have a coach, there's one finger. If you're using the Habits of Health system, you can have a little better grip. If you take advantage of the community, you'll have even more support. If you have the full nutrition program that we talk about and that, you know, can really fuel your success, that's a pretty strong grip. To have the best grip, to have the thumb there, you're encouraging others to join you on your journey. And the more people along with you for the ride, the better your chance to have a really firm grip and grasp on your health. So I encourage you to consider that. I wish you well in whatever path you choose to take here. Thank you again for joining us and spending part of your evening with us. Huge shout out to the Rockstar panel. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. And I will turn you loose for the evening with my thanks. Have a great one. All my best. Take care.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.